How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the report. Starting a little bit early, but before we begin, first off, I want to thank everybody who's been tuning into my videos. We have just passed the 1 year mark of this channel. I hinted at in my last video that I was going to do something special for the 1 year mark, which would have been the 28th, but as today's title dictates, the riots came early. And that's kind of been like all-consuming of my attention lately, what's going on in America. And so I'm going to delay the celebration stream probably till actually my birthday. We'll combine that into both since my birthday's coming up, so I'll do a birthday live stream for y'all, and I'll celebrate with everybody the fact that you all supported me for a year now, and I really appreciate everybody tuning in all this time. Especially, I know a lot of people out here who have been tuning in almost every single day or every single stream that I do and everything, so I really appreciate you guys. The Hidden Hippo says that today is his birthday, so happy birthday to you, brother. Thank you for tuning in on your birthday. It's a wild time to be having a birthday right now, right, my dude? I'm not looking forward to seeing what happens by my birthday, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, I had to come on today because it's all that my news stream is, all my Twitter feed is, all my Facebook feed is, everything is everywhere is showing all the riots that are breaking out all across the country. And I had to come on and kind of vent and share my thoughts on it. For anybody that's tuning in and hasn't already, you should SPO. I haven't lost a pound, bro. I'm still like 110, and I've been like 110 for a decade now. About ever since like I got out of the Navy and lost like 8 pounds of muscle, I've been like 110 since. So definitely haven't lost any weight, bro. I'm just skinny as fuck. Yeah, I'm still in Malaysia though. Still here, and hopefully I will be getting asylum soon. I'm waiting for a response from the immigration office so that I don't have to be returning to the hell that is unfolding in America. But you know, if you guys watched it's a little bit, it'd be really late in Argentina right now. It'd be nighttime for Argentina, I think. Maybe. No, I guess it'd still be kind of early there. Probably still be dark. I think it'd be like 8, 7 or 8, so it's probably dark in Argentina right now. Anyway, yeah, Malaysia's nice. It's beautiful over here. It's a little bit hazy. You can probably tell a little bit looking back through there. But yeah, it's a lot nicer here than it is in the U.S. That's for sure. Social unrest is non-existent here. I'm in Kuala Lumpur too, so it's like, you know, I think it's the largest, or maybe it's the second largest city in Malaysia, and it's quiet every night. You know, it's peaceful here. But yeah, it's a totally different world from, you know, America right now. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm hopefully going to be extending my stay. Really, really hoping that they give me more than just a month extension. But if not, then, you know, I'm just going to go somewhere else safe in Southeast Asia. Law's strange twist. American citizens seeking asylum from political tyranny. Welcome to the new normal. Absolutely, dude. But you know, I mean, here's the thing: is a lot of I'm not going to get political on it because it's not political tyranny. It's capitalist tyranny. It's nothing to do with a politician. I mean, the reality is, if it was Clinton in office, I'd still be here. I had said in you know, I actually probably be blinded if my guy won 2016, because, you know, I probably would have been like, oh no, everything's gonna be fine, kind of thing. Kind of like a lot of people that are Trump supporters are right now. They're putting their blinders on. They're not looking objectively at the world. You know what I mean? So, and that's because, you know, your guy's in office, so you don't want to look at it. You don't want to acknowledge that your guy is just as corrupt as everybody else. Your guy is just as much a corporate shill as every last one of them that's ever been a politician, that's ever been in office. But again, I don't want to get political any more than is necessary where we're going to talk about this, but the ugly truth is, if you haven't already, I'm sure most of y'all tuning in right now have already watched the video I posted, my second to last video, where I said the worst case scenario for America. My schedule is now advanced by a month. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. Looking at it, you know, and in that video, I broke down that you know, by the end of the year, America will be a third world country. It will look like a third world country, both internally and externally. It's not just the rate of, you know, inequality, economic inequality that exists in America, but it's going to exist within the very behavior of society, because every semblance of social, like every social construct that you are familiar with and take for granted as an American citizen is going away by the end of this year. The world is sacrificing America. You are the sacrificial lamb for the new economy. And it's because you, me as an American, but you as people who are trapped in America now, you are the sacrificial sheep. And because Americans, we are so entitled to our way of life. I say this as if I am in that group, but I'm clearly not, because I'm on the other side of the world for a reason, because I saw this coming a mile away, 6 months ahead of time, before COVID was even a thing. All right, I knew that it was happening. I knew it was happening this year specifically, because it's an election year and because of everything that we've witnessed unfolding over the last 6+ years. I knew it was coming. And I couldn't put the exact date on it, but I knew it was going to be within the next year. And so it's ugly. It's a really ugly situation that Americans are facing right now. And my heart goes out to all of y'all in chat. You know, all my family, every last member of my flesh and blood, still in America. Bro, XRP, I wish I could. I keep saying this in every one of these videos where, every one of my videos where I go and explain, you know, what's about to happen to America. I'm like, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong about this. I want to be wrong about this. Please, let me be wrong. Let me be fucking wrong for once. World, stop proving me right, because I'm being like a real pessimist right now, okay? And I hate being a pessimist. But it seems like when I'm pessimistic, that's when I'm most right. And as unfortunate as that is, when I'm pessimistic, it's like, yep, if Jade's pessimistic, you know the world's going to hell in a handbasket until he finds the silver lining, you know what I mean? But yeah, it is. It's unfortunate, bro. I hate that I have to be up here saying I told you so, because, you know, I want to be saying I was wrong. I would much rather be saying that, because it would mean that we're going towards a happier world, that everything's starting to calm down, everything's getting better. And, you know, maybe by July, you know, things will start to level out. Maybe the insanity's gonna plateau. You know what I mean? Maybe by then the insanity plateaus and things don't get as bad as I laid out in my worst case scenario. But, you know, to me right now, it just seems like things are escalating at an even faster rate than I could have foreseen. And, you know, it's I can't remember who I was watching. I think it might have been Jimmy Dore, actually. He had Chris Hedges on, I think, and Chris was talking about how, you know, everything's already been laid out here for a long time. You look like a banana on a holiday. But, you know, like Chris Hedges was laying out that, you know, everything's been in place for the collapse of America for a long time, but then nobody knew what the match would be. And now, so a lot of people on the left, at least, are saying that it's this what is his name? George Floyd? Is that what his name is? George Floyd? That the murder of George Floyd is really just the match that set off the tinderbox. And it's like, I guess it is possible, you know, but the issue is that we don't see the right. The right hasn't taken to the street yet. It's literally just the left right now. And so, or at least that's how the media is paying it, is it's just the left that's out in the streets. So, hey mate, I seen you on Ruptly. On Ruptly? I don't think I've never been on Ruptly unless they are stealing my content and throwing it up there. But that's an interesting statement. Can you link that video that they're talking about? Wonder if the price of Tesla is dropping. Of a Tesla is dropping. I don't know. I've not really followed the markets the past like week or so. I've been more getting wrapped up in social affairs. I'm convinced that the market's like topped out. That's where I'm standing right now. Like the Dow. Excuse me. Until I see it break above 3,700, I'm convinced it's topped out, or 2,700 on the Dow. It's peaked. It's not going any higher. It's going to sit at this range until the next wave down comes, the next downtrend comes. It's done. Name change to the Malaysian Martian. Cars on fire sale, Riot. I got you now. It was a pun. Okay, I got you, bro. But yeah, it's crazy. I just wish that I was half as right about the price of XRP this year or last year as I've been about social unrest this year, but I guess that comes from me having a psychology background, you know what I mean? No, it's not a mullet, bro. It's long as hell in the front and in the back. I need a haircut, but it is what it is. It is getting a little wild though. I just made it worse, but yeah, I need to get a haircut ASAP. Is what it is for now. Toronto, Ontario says, Brzezinski, it used to be easier to control 1 million people than to kill them. With geopolitical awakening, it is now easier to kill 1 million than to control them. I can't help but agree. I think that's probably what you're looking at, to be honest. It's gonna be more than 1 million though. Let's be real. It's gonna be, like I said in that video that I'm gonna keep referring to, because 20,000 people were advertised or were shown by YouTube that video that I keep referring to, that, you know, the worst case scenario. 20,000 people. So at least half of those that were shown it were my subscribers, and only 500 clicked through. So I know that it's not shadow banning. It's people are turning a blind eye because nobody wants to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to look at the big ugly truth. And that's fair, because, you know, it's been a rough few months as is, and people are burned out on the bad. But just because it's been a bad few months doesn't mean things can't get a whole lot worse. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be still keeping informed to find out how you can prepare for what's coming. And for Americans, you know, it's a tricky situation. You know, I keep telling all my family they need to get the hell out of Dodge. They need to go to Canada. You know, the ones who are in the north and the ones who are in the south need to get to Mexico, because Mexico's going to be safer than America. People aren't going to be fleeing to America from Mexico by the end of the year. They're going to be going the other way. That's why the wall is really being constructed, to keep you in. But yeah, things are getting dark in Wisconsin now. It's getting dark everywhere. Carolina's getting crazy. Speaking of which, how's it going, XRP Carolina? Thanks for tuning in, bro. But yeah, Riley, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Riley, I think, North Carolina. Shit's getting crazy there now. I saw a video of some rioters beating a store owner and his wife outside their shop. It's just absurd. It's not absurd, to be honest. Like, I know a lot of people are upset about it. Ripple and company can't post the link. I didn't see it pop up, and since I'm doing this from my phone, apparently I can't approve the comment. Ripple and company, so sorry, buddy. If you follow me on Twitter, though, you can PM it to me, and I'll have a look. But yeah, it's crazy everywhere, Melvin. Philadelphia is crazy. I haven't seen any videos from Philly yet, but I hear that Pittsburgh's just as crazy. From family, that, you know, it's getting crazy everywhere. Tina Rollins, thank you for tuning in. Hope you're having a good one. But yeah, it's crazy times we're living in, and unfortunately for America, I don't see it getting better. If you're in small town America, you're probably good for a while. You know, it's gonna Raleigh, okay. yes, some protesters showed up in my hometown. That's never happened before in Goldsboro. Public service announcement. Know your local laws for protecting yourself in and out of your home, folks. Here's the thing, bro, XRP. The law does not exist anymore. You live under a tyranny. It's a false sense of security that you're being sold. This is evident in the fact if anybody out there has ever been arrested in the last, this isn't brand new, but if you've been arrested in the last decade, you know that whole saying of innocent until proven guilty, it's the other way around. You have no right to being innocent until proven guilty. It's the other way around in America. And it doesn't matter if you're white. Saying this as a skinny, nerdy white guy who has been put before a court and had to pay just for them to acknowledge my innocence. And I still have to pay fines. There is no sense of innocent until proven guilty in America. And that's only going to go away even further as we go forward. So, you don't have a right to a jury. Show me anybody that you know that in the last decade of people that you've ever heard go to court that had a jury for their court hearing. No, you have to go in and you come to an agreement because you're bullied into accepting a plea bargain where you still get those charges pushed against you. They get put on your fucking record. And again, it don't matter what color you are. Saying this is a white guy who's got a record. Yeah, everything is inverted. It's exactly right, Toronto, Ontario. Well, I knew of COVID-19 December 6th when I heard about it in China and was in the United States. The who knows more. Daniel Peterson, yeah, I mean, we knew about COVID in December, but I was already here in November. And like I said at the beginning, I knew that something was coming long before COVID. You know what I mean? I knew that this was, you can ask Tina Rollins because I've been saying this since probably 2013, 2014, that it's over. That I've been saying for a long time that there is one way America saves itself, and that's by bribing the bottom 50% by giving them money, just giving them money. And a lot of people are like, economics don't work that way. Who's gonna grow the crops if everybody's staying home? The self-driving tractors, because they exist now. Everything, Did I miss you discussing the world standing with our protesters? London, Berlin, and I think Ontario all had protests too. No, I didn't discuss that, Tina Rollins, but I did just see one little post about London, people in London standing with, in support of of the people who are protesting. But it's they're not really supporting protesters at this point, they're supporting rioters. It's kind of crazy because we went from, we didn't just go into protests for, I was expecting that there was going to be a lull. I was expecting after the lockdown ended, there'd be a lull, a 2 week to a month lull, as I said in my worst case scenario, where people don't really know what's going to happen. And everybody's kind of just riding out their unemployment and looking for a job and hoping beyond hope that things get better. But this George Floyd, event just set fire to the whole thing, and it just went up in flames. And we went from 0 to 100 real quick. We went from me expecting that there's going to be a lull period, and then protests in July, and then full-on riots in August to we fucking skipped the lull, the protest. No, we're straight up rioting now. So it's there are protests still, but there's violence mixed into most of the protests that we're seeing. It doesn't matter where you look in the country now. These protests are there's violence going hand in hand. There's a lot of videos and claims going around that the violence is being orchestrated or fueled by police force or undercover agents or whatever that are going and throwing bricks at these windows to break them or whatever, or that I'm seeing a lot of people post on Twitter that these bricks are being planted. They're showing like there's just bricks planted randomly. Like there's no construction around, but there's bricks here. So what the fuck? And a lot of people are just like, you know, conspiratorial or not, are saying that this is that these are being planted by like Soros or whoever has the ulterior motive to provide the ammunition for those who want to riot, right? And so impossible to say one way or the other what it is, but you know which way that goes. But the fact stands that that is what we're seeing. You know, it's happening, whether it's orchestrated for an event or not. That's still, you're still putting those seeds in the minds of the masses. And so what is interesting to me is if let's say, you know, for the sake of argument, that this is a plan, that this is a pseudo coup. Well, that goes right in hand with what I was saying in my worst case scenario, that before the true riots occur, before everybody's actually out in arms, there's going to be pseudo riot. There's going to be a pseudo revolution, and it's going to be exactly what happened in Turkey in 2014, 15. I can't remember what year. I think it's like 14, when Erdogan staged a false coup, and that was so that they could catch activists early and imprison a bunch of people who were caught up in this government orchestrated coup, so that they could quell rebellion early. And so I think that is potentially what we're seeing in America right now. We're seeing the government essentially, you know, cat would-be rioters into creating these acts before they have a large following where the government can't handle them. And so they're going to catch the instigators early, the really activist ones, and then throw them in jail. The issue is that where America stands right now is a very, very different situation than where Turkey was when Erdogan seized power. When Erdogan turned the democratic country of Turkey into what it is now, an authoritarian country. He followed Hitler's playbook, play by play, to seize power. And now we're watching the same thing unfold in America. See, the brilliant thing is that Americans are under this false belief that, well, we're a democracy, that could never happen here. We could never have a Hitler rise to power. Well, you know, what was amazing about pre-Hitler, pre-Nazi Germany, it was a democracy. What was amazing about pre-Erdogan Turkey, it was a democracy. See, you go from democracy to authoritarian regime overnight when the cards are put into the right hands. And it's not very hard, especially if there's the political incentive and motive to push for such from those who would have otherwise been, you know, not in that favor. And what we're seeing in America right now, oh, there's a lot of favor in the political spectrum for a authoritarian regime to take control. Whether you're on the left or right in Congress, you know, it don't matter what you are as an American. If you identify as a Democrat or Republican, it don't matter. You're represented by corporate authoritarians. That's the reality. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The person that you elect in the Congress is a corporate authoritarian. And that's why everybody on the right who complains about all the things that how hypocritical the left is, that's why they're right. Because the left is hypocritical, because the people are not represented by their politicians, because they elect a bunch of crony politicians, a bunch of fake-ass people who are talking out one hand and taking incentives in the or talking out their face hole, accepting incentives behind their back, and then going and selling the people short. And guess what? It's not just the left. It's the right too. That's why everybody on the left who calls all the Republicans hypocrites for the same exact reason, they're exactly right for the exact same reason. And that's why I constantly on this channel say that you have to be a free thinker. You have to be non-politically motivated as an individual, because if you side with a political party in America, you're a sheep. You are literally buying into a mainstream narrative, whether that's the Fox News, the Rupert Murdoch mainstream narrative. Rupert Murdoch is a multi-billionaire, and if you don't know about him, then chances are you're just as brainwashed as all the people on the left who listen to George Soros. These two people are best fucking buds. George Soros and Rupert Murdoch, they both sell you a different narrative, the exact opposite side of the spectrum. They're both in control of massive media empires, enormous. Sky News and Fox News, they're identical news networks. They're both owned by the same. It's the illusion of choice that you're fed. You listen to Sky News or Fox News, you're listening to the same fucking person. And you can actually find examples of them reading the same exact fucking teleprompter, word for word, of these people saying the exact same thing. Just like you can find the same thing from CNN and MSN and the Young Turks, Washington Post. You can find these organizations verbatim quoting each other because they're in bed together, because they're owned by the same parent company, for lack of the actual term for the conglomerate that these are all ruled under, the umbrella organization, right? These are all, it's how the world is run. It's ugly, but that's how it is. Deep Mind Lab Vision here, bro, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're having a good one out there, being safe. Finally, my schedule allowed me to catch the Martian stream. It's been a while since I did a live stream, and I really need to get back into doing it regularly. I really do. It's really hard because, you know, I know it probably seems like I like talking about this because this is the kind of topics I've been talking about a lot lately, but I don't like talking about this. I'd rather just go back into our little XRP echo chamber and talk about that, but you know, nothing's happening with that. We're not getting any news about that. And this is a lot more important to our livelihoods, our lives, that we pay attention to what's going on and try and look at it through a non-political lens, that we try and look at what's happening in the world through an objective lens and try to rationalize where this leads to. Whether it's from the aspect of, again, that these are all planted, that they're trying to create a false coup, or that's just like coincidental that these bricks are there and that the rioters are just taking advantage of them because they're there, so I'm gonna take advantage of them, and so this is real rioting, right? Either way, it doesn't end well. This is only, and we haven't even seen the worst of it yet because 20% of America is still on unemployment. They're on unemployment until, I think, the beginning or end of July. And that's why I said July is like the breaking point. That's when things really break, I think. Because that's when 20% of Americans are not only without a job, but without any source of income. And that's just adding on to the 40% of Americans, well, it's not 20, it's like 14, 17%, something like that, right? Not 20, not a true 20%, but 14 to 17% unemployment right now. And they're receiving better unemployment than they would have if they had the full-time job. So those people are cared for the time being, but it's only gonna get worse for them. It's only gonna get worse going forward. And so that's why I said July is that time in my mind. I was like, okay, well, this is when, not only when a lot of people are going to be really waking up to what's going on in the world, but they're going to be faced with the harsh reality that just because the lockdown ended, the jobs didn't magically come back. Corporate companies, private, small, mom and pop business owners didn't magically find the funds out of thin air because nobody's coming to their shop. And if they are, it's in a much smaller degree than before, whether that's because they're afraid of the virus or because they're really being tight on money. And it's probably both. It's probably a compounding of both of those, right? The reality is, what nobody's telling you, and I'll be the first out here on YouTube to say, maybe, I don't know, I'm sure there's somebody else saying it, the reality of why all those small businesses are closing their doors over the next month or two, you're going to be told it's because Americans are afraid to go shopping. It's not because they're afraid. It's because they don't have fucking money. Because half of the country is now unemployed. Let's play that. I think I've laid this out in a few videos, but I'm gonna iterate it because it's really important for people to understand. You're told before this whole crisis that unemployment in America was below 4%. Less than 4% of Americans were unemployed prior to the crash in March. That's a lie. What the real number is, that 4% that they're reporting, that's how many people are actively looking for a job. That's determined by who is on unemployment and by polling, right? So that's the active unemployment numbers as recognized by you being on unemployment. That is not the true unemployed number. The true unemployed number before the crash was over 40%. I think it's like, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I think it's like 46%. And so now we have over 40 million Americans who've lost their job in just a few months, right? So let me run through these numbers for you real quick. 40 million people. Prior to the crisis, there was 157 million jobs in America. So now really think of how big of a chunk 40 million is when your economy only had 157. In other words, 25% of jobs just over gone. Over 25, actually it's almost 30%. Almost 30%. It's over 25, it's just about 30% of jobs gone. And now, so you add on that group of people, that 40 million people who had a job, add that to the, I think it's either 80, I might be getting the two numbers mixed up. It's either 86 or 96 million Americans who were unemployed and not on unemployment coverage, which is that 40 some percent of Americans who didn't have a job in 2019, who had given up on trying to find work. Those people, you add the 40 million to them, and now you realize that of working age Americans, over 50% now are unemployed. Over half your country. No job, no source of income. How are they going to go and buy food at a restaurant? How are those people going to afford to go and participate in the economy? Well, if there's no way for them to afford to participate in the economy, how does that shop, how does that restaurant, how does that company stay in business? Well, they're going to need to receive a government bailout, aren't they? Well, we already saw how that worked in March, right? We got the CARES Act. And who's the CARES Act for? Well, it sure as hell wasn't caring for the small businessmen, because not only did the small businesses receive the smallest portion of that bailout, but the wording in that enabled large corporations to abuse it. You don't accidentally write a several hundred-page bill and have loopholes for corporations to abuse. You don't accidentally do that, okay? That wasn't, whoops, oh, how did that get in there? No, it was being intentional. And anybody that will say otherwise, they're asleep at the wheel. You know, I'm sure that nobody in this chat would disagree with me on that. Yeah, you know, Carlos probably, you know, it's like, there is this, the way that this system is set up, we're headed for disaster. You know, Toronto says, crowdfund, buy land, grow food as a community, create work by producing hemp goods, etc. I mean, here's the thing, bro. You can absolutely do that. And you know, at this point, that's probably one of the best things that a lot of people can do who want to protect themselves, is to really, you know, get together with your community to try and, you know, establish a decentralized local economy. But here's the reality, is that most people don't have that option available to them. Most people live in a city. Most Americans live in a city. I think it's like over 60%, right? What does Jeremiah Babe say? I don't know, bro. I haven't listened to Jeremiah in a minute. I caught wind that he was being facetious, and that's why I did a video on him a while ago. I removed it because, like, not even any of my viewers liked it, I guess. But I did a video on him a while ago pointing out, you know, because again, my background's in psychology. I know how to identify a liar a mile away. And he was hitting every goddamn nail on the head when it came to it. Like, I was like, holy shit, can you be more facetious? But the narrative was lost on a lot of people, because when I went into the video, all my comments were just people saying, Jeremiah loves the poor, you should see him, he goes to the bread line and helps out and donates and stuff. And it's like, oh, you mean he films himself doing charitable service so he can get social credit scores with all of the people that watch in? How much do you think he makes versus how much he donates? But at any rate, yeah, it's Electro Bob asks, what is the solution? Electro Bob, there is no solution anymore. It's too late. Unfortunately, it's too late. It's not just too late because it doesn't matter if I come up with a solution. The issue now is that the solution is so dramatic from what Americans' current day-to-day life is, that and there's no longer a incentive through the means of everybody's locked at home, so we can't even say, oh well, we're going to give everybody the money, you know, for the remainder of the lockdown, and then ease people into this system, because they're going to feel that there's no other option. At least you're covered, right? Yeah, Jeremy. But so we can't even do that. We can't even do a UBI system now because people are already pissed. And once people's, you know, animal instincts kick in, once you push people too far, they don't care anymore. You can't turn back the clock now. And so I don't think that there is a solution anymore. I think that the only solution is what we're seeing unfold now. And it's the worst case scenario. It's the complete collapse of America. There's no saving America at this point, as much as I wish there was. You know, I mean, it's why I was saying, you know, many years ago that America needed a UBI. I was saying America needed a UBI in 2013. And it's too late now. It should have been done years ago. But nobody wanted to, because people are like, well, it's still going to be a long time before the robots can replace all of the jobs. It doesn't matter. You need to do these things preemptively. Because if you wait till the robot takes your job before you give people the money, in that time frame where the robot has the job and everybody's unemployed, and now you have all this stuff in your store and nobody can afford to buy it, that's when people are going to be like, well, fuck you. It's right fucking there. The store shelves are full. Why the fuck is it so expensive? When none of us have a job, I'm fucking taking it. That's looting. That's why the looting occurs. Hey, guess what? If there was a shortage of goods, there wouldn't be anything for the looters to take. If there was a shortage of production, there'd be nothing for the people that are riding to go take. You going full expat now? I might join you if you are legendary. I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. That's my goal right now, because the way things are headed, things are unfolding in America faster than even I expect. That's basically what this whole stream boils down to. That's what this whole tangent boils down to. Everything's happening even faster than I could have ever expected, and it terrifies me because, you know, it's like an exponential, right? It's like an exponential growth of anything, right? When you are looking at an exponential trend, we always project things to occur later than they're going to. And so the way that things are unfolding now, you know, I was thinking linearly, I guess, with how things are going to unfold over the next few months. And so I was sitting here thinking, okay, so we had this 3-month lockdown, so we're gonna have a month of confusion, followed by like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of escalation, and then August things are gonna get really crazy. Well, now I'm sitting here like, maybe July is when shit absolutely hits the fan, just done and over with kind of situation, and nobody's getting out of America at all now. Like it's done, it's said and done at this point. This is what I'm seeing, and so I'm hoping this is too extreme, right? I'm hoping what I'm saying right now is too extreme, and then so now hopefully by saying that shit's done, said and done for America now in July, there will be no America in July. Hopefully that's too extreme. This has to be the thing that I'm saying. This is so extreme that by July I get to say, guys, I was wrong. I was finally wrong, right? I was finally wrong. Let's hope, because that's how this trend is playing out. If it's exponential, if revolution occurs on an exponential trend, where we're at right now is like 0 hour. You know, it's the end of the line. We're already seeing. Somebody else shared a video of them now rolling troops. U.S. troops are now being relocated to the White House. So Trump's now surrounding himself by the military. So what does that say? What does that say when the president is like, okay, we need the army here in force now to be protecting us because shit's getting so serious, you know? Graveheart, may you live in interesting times. I don't want to live in interesting times. Electro Blob, how should we prepare for authoritarianism? My friend, you lived through authoritarianism. Now you're heading into anarchy. The pendulum has gone. Maybe it has not hit the most extreme yet. You know, because as much as I like to say and hope and dream that America's hit the peak of its authoritarianism, it's not Nazi Germany yet. You know, there's still a long way further that pendulum could swing to authoritarianism. So I just like to believe that the spirit of America would prevent that the American ideal, you know, the what America means to most people would stand guard of such a degree of authoritarianism. But over the course of my life, I've watched us swing already further than I expected that we would, through the militarization of our police state. And so maybe I'm not. So how should you prepare for it? Just be ready to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Be ready to keep your thoughts private, because you can be persecuted for them in an authoritarian state. You know, other than that, you know, don't be a minority in America today. You know, that's a lot easier said than done, but you know, if you're a minority and you're not going to be out there in arms right now, you know, arms, not rioting with 2x4s, but with guns, you know, you're probably doing too little too late kind of situation. You're going to get arrested. So if you're going to get arrested and thrown in jail for 20 years, you might as well go hard. And that goes for anybody in America right now who, if you want to prepare for authoritarianism in America, the first thing you can do, don't resist the protests, don't resist the riots, escalate them to their nth degree before the government even expects it to go to the furthest degree. Get out with guns. The police force is now in arms against you. They're now shooting people. So, join force, match fire with fire, because that's the only way that power recognizes power, is when you exert your power. And Americans love to brag about how we're all armed to the teeth, yet I haven't seen one militia take to the streets yet. Not one. There is not a single militia while we're watching authoritarianism take control of our country. And I think that's because that the majority of those militia individuals are right-wing. That's nothing, you know, it's not saying that there is anything wrong with the militia. I'm fully of the belief that there should be militias in America. All over the place. There should be people organized militia, decentralized militia, that stand as a direct power contrast to the police state, to the federal military. And that creates a balance of power. But it doesn't exist right now, because the militias are predominantly right-wing in America. And so the right wing is completely having the wool put over their eyes right now. Either that, or they believe that their guy is going to bring about their ideological world order. They think that's going to be a right-wing world order. And, you know, technically fascism is right-wing, so, you know, hey, they're kind of right. But it's a question of whether they really know what they're getting into. I think that there's a section, a small minority amongst them who are very aware of what's coming. Because when you really get into the numbers, not the numbers, but the sociological statistics involved with leading indicators of revolution, right? One of the leading, my phone's getting warm here, so if the live stream drops, as a heads up, apologies, but my phone's starting to overheat. But anyway, fascism doesn't have a party. It doesn't have a party, but it exists on the political spectrum, and it is right authoritarian. It is economically conservative, and socially authoritarian. That's what fascism is. Communism is authoritarian and fiscally liberal. They exist on the same, they're both about the same point on the authoritarian spectrum, but on the opposite of the left-right, which left-right is purely economic. It's nothing to do with social or with social issues. This is why you will find people who exist on the right who believe in a lot of socially liberal policies. Because social, order, social structure has nothing to do with left-right dynamic. Left-right dynamic is an economic, term. But they paint it as this social thing within the media, and that's meant to attract people to that side or to the other side. Oh, if you're not racist, then you have to be liberal. You have to be liberal if you're not a racist. Actually, right-wing Democrats are the socialist Democrats that fought for their voting for Bernie Sanders, the Revolutionary War that he keeps asking for. By definition, a social democrat is not right-wing. It is the furthest from right you can get. Not only is it economically liberal because it's socialism, it's socially it's non-authoritarian because it's democratic. And let's be clear, the social social democrat, it's not a Bernie Sanders thing. That's a Norwegian thing. That was because social democracy was given rise to in Norway and Finland, not in some far off land that's ruled by communists. No, it was a democratic nation that invented it, and Bernie Sanders just advocating for it, and that's what he's advocating for. Now, the reality is Bernie Sanders is not a social democrat because he's ratted himself out already. His voting record over the past few years has fully exposed Bernie Sanders as a fraud. So, what you're saying about Bernie, Daniel Peterson, is probably is pretty accurate. I don't really have any dog in that race as far as the accuracy of that. But what a social democrat, or what social democracy is, rather, the social democratic ideology, it's left wing. It's left wing and it's non-authoritarian. It's socially liberal. So it's the exact opposite side of the spectrum from fascism. That has been proven. Democratic socialism has been arrested now, and death rates were there doing all the break. Yeah. So you think that? Okay. So explain to me, Daniel, I guess, how you feel that anarchy, because that's what rioting is. That's non-authoritarian riots. A riot is non-authoritarianism to the nth degree. There is a lawless nature to rioting. There is no authority in that behavior. How is that right wing? How is the destruction of capital fiscally conservative? That's the destruction of capital. That's fiscally liberal. That's assuming there's infinite money. There's infinite supplies in the world. That is the opposite side. So I don't understand where you are getting that, my friend. I'm sorry. Black bloc tactics, bundle of sticks. I don't know what black bloc tactics is, but okay. Legendary, come on over to Asia. Yeah, Legendary, you should, bro. You should get over here. I mean, the reality is there's definitely I feel that over here there is probably a deeper degree of authoritarian. This is something that a lot of people say, are you sure about that? Hitler was a socialist. No, Hitler was a Nazi, a National Socialist. So do you know what a National Socialist is? It's a fascist. See, the National Socialist Party, it's not socialist in any policy. And that's the thing about these terms, these definite or these labels that we create for people. a label is only good if you don't dig into the actual policies involved. So what socialist policy, what Marx policy did Hitler enact? And then whatever you claim, before you claim it, I want you to find where Karl Marx, the father of socialism, ever advocated for that policy. Medical tyranny. Okay, so show me within Marx, Das Kapital, or any of his writings where he describes medical tyranny as a socialist policy. You will not find it, my friend. See, again, I don't really want to debate this because it's a moot point. Okay, it's a moot point. Why are you so worried about socialism? You're not getting it. You're not fucking getting socialism. You're getting hardcore fascism. You're getting, and do you know what the key pillar of fascism is? The key pillar of fascism is survival of the fittest. This is what exposed Hitler as a fascist, not a socialist. How do I say that? Because he practiced eugenics on a national scale. Eugenics is not socialist, it's fascist. Socialism is social inclusion. Fascism is survival of the fittest. It's the natural order. That's why it goes so hand in hand with crony capitalism, because we as capitalists believe that, well, somebody's rich because they earned that wealth. They earned the right to be so wealthy. They earned that $1 billion off of their brilliant ideas and their hard work in the early days. And so you validate their absurd degree of wealth through a survival of the fittest mentality. And that's why capitalism, when it's not, there's no checks and balances to it, capitalism becomes corporate oligarchy. And a corporate oligarchy is different from a democratic capitalist system, in the sense that the capitalists, the owners, now have the economic means to buy politicians. And you say, well, I vote for my politician. Yes. How did you discover this politician that you're voting for? Oh, they were put on a mainstream news network. They were put on a national platform, on a national podium, for you to know they exist. Now, who is it that is putting them on that platform? A corporation. Who is that? Why is that corporation putting them up there? Because that individual paid for that platform. They paid to be put up there. How do they pay to be put up there? Well, from their campaign funds. Where did their campaign funds come from? A corporate oligarch, a corporate owner, a super PAC, which is a way for a politician to usurp federal fucking law and accept absurdly large donations that would otherwise be illegal for them to accept. But they're allowed to accept these now because of a super PAC. And so now they can accept corporate money in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to go and sell you advertisements on a national platform so that you become familiar with them. And this is a known phenomenon of psychology. It's familiarity. The more familiar you are with someone, the more likely you are to vote for them. That's why Donald Trump won 2016. Because everybody was giving him free advertisement. It didn't matter if you went to the left, the CNN or Fox News. The only person you heard about in 2016 was Donald fucking Trump. You didn't hear about anybody else. There's people that went and broke down the timing for the 2016, how much time CNN gave to Donald Trump versus all the candidates on the left. And they gave more attention to Donald Trump than all the other candidates combined. I mean, you don't like it, it's still true. And that's why he won, because of familiarity. Humans fear what they don't know. The less you fear something, the more likely you are to support it. It's just a basic principle of psychology, of human behavior. And so that's why he won. And that's why I knew he'd win beforehand, because he was getting all the airtime, getting all the attention. That's why I knew Clinton would lose like a heart, like nothing. And because he has the gift of gab, he's an actor. I mean, he has the gift of billions of dollars so that he can constantly be on the mainstream media or on TV selling you a dream. And he does. He sells the dream perfectly. He sells it perfectly. You know, I don't hate the player, I hate the game. I don't hate Trump. I hate the system that enabled someone like Trump to become president. Same system that allowed Obama to become president. Same system that allowed Bush to become president. Same system that allowed Clinton to become president. They're all the same. Bill Clinton and Donald Trump probably circle jerked each other at one point. They probably sat in a room jerking each other off. Not even joking. Promise it happened. Promise. Because you don't give somebody $200,000 out of your pocket if you don't like them. You don't. And that's what Donald Trump did to Bill Clinton's campaign in the early days. And that's exactly what I'm getting at with broken with our system. Dude, your parents are failures. Why? Because I actually sit here and look at the world objectively. I don't sit here and buy into a narrative left or right. Dark Titan, I think your parents failed you. I do have bedhead, don't I? It is what it is. It's also really hot here, so I'm sweating like a sieve out here. Trump is reduction of minimum sentencing. I got a tax cut and I don't make a lot. I don't know how you got a tax cut because I sure as hell didn't. I'm definitely thinking about DNI. I'll join you in the off-the-grid compound. DNI, you got it? You're not off the grid, are you, DNI? I mean, I guess technically, being in Asia is off the grid compared to being anywhere in America right now. You have to work in order to get a tax cut. Oh, ain't that clever? Yeah, I don't work. Never worked a day in my life. There's not videos of me here on this channel breaking down how I was putting away like thousands. Because not only was I working, I wasn't spending. There's a reason why I'm here on vacation in Malaysia while you're still working. Apparently you didn't work hard enough, my friend. Because you're complaining about working still. Just saying, you want to play those games. We can talk about who's really doing financially well right now, but I don't like to brag about that. Did you just say CNN gave Trump a lot of airtime? Yes, WebNet marketing. They did. Now, so here's the thing. What you're probably confusing, my friend, is this notion that they were sitting around insulting him. Yeah, CNN does give Trump a lot of airtime. They keep insulting him all the time. Thank you, Daniel. Exactly 100%, my friend. See, that's because of this wonderful saying that I don't think anybody actually understands. All publicity. Everybody understands the definition of the word all, right? Don't need to define that. We're all grown adults who understand the English language. All publicity is good publicity. Everybody's familiar with that. No press is bad press. That's another way of saying it, Tim Bryan. Exactly right. Exactly right. I think work is negative. No, I think work is obsolete. I mean, let's look at it this way, Dark Truth. I've made enough to live off of a channel that I only get about 600 views on, just sharing my ideas on the internet. And you know what? This right here, what I'm doing, this is the new way of work. This is the future of work. Because you're not going to get a job at McDonald's. You're not going to get a job laying brick. You're not going to get a job growing crops. There's a robot for that now. There's a robot for each of those jobs, and guess what? What you're in right now, this is the transition period. There's a reason why 40 million people were able to be fired and these companies didn't go out, and these big corporations didn't go out of business. Exactly as Tim Bryan said, AI is coming. See, there's a reason why I identify openly, as much to the chagrin of a lot of people who watch my content, I openly identify as a technocrat. Because as a science literate individual, somebody who understands that science is a catalyst for technological advancement, and that the advancement of technology is an exponential trend that has not been disrupted, but is actually going into a new phase of exponential growth, which is being labeled by those in Silicon Valley as a jolting exponential trend. In other words, things are advancing so rapidly now that it's actually breaking out of our traditional exponential trends. AI is here. Get the tin foil. Tin foil will amplify those signals, my friend. You need aluminum, not tin. Aluminum. At the end of the day, though, you're not going to wear an aluminum outfit to cover your entire body and protect your internal organs from the 5G. If you buy into that, you know, I actually don't. But it does actually cause it does cause cellular degeneration to a degree. So I mean, there is a case to be made, and when we're surrounded by it, you know, you could argue that it'll take years off people's lives. But I mean, people smoke cigarettes all the time, even though they know that it increases their chance of cancer, and if not cancer, they get COPD. You know, my grandmother smokes still to this day, and she's got COPD. This woman was diagnosed with COPD, and she doesn't acknowledge that her smoking for like 50 years is exactly what happened. So you know, people don't care. Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental disorder? John Smith, yes, I am autistic as hell. All hell. Stupid autistic. I'm grinning as I say that, but that's because I find the disorder aspect of autism to be a joke. Oh no, this individual identifies patterns at a higher rate than normal people. We better label him as having a disorder. He has a disorder. How dare he be able to identify patterns? How dare he? No, I don't have any robots, and yes, I grow crops, and no, I will not have robots. Daniel Peterson, good luck staying in business. Well, I'm assuming you're growing for like, are you talking about like a farm? Do you actually grow crops for yourself, or are you talking about like industrial grade crops? Like, are you an industrial scale farmer? Because if you're not, then, you know, hey, you're the equivalent of the grocery store in a Walmart world. They exist still. There's still a few grocery stores out there, my friend, and they're not. There'll still be a few that pop up here and there. People will find a way to make it work through local distribution. But you know, compartmentalization is a disorder, but that's how people seem to need to file things away. That's true. I mean, the reality is that everything is compartmentalized in the brain, Toronto, Ontario. Like, that's just how your brain works. It's not really disorder, because that's literally a process of how memories are created and formed within your brain. This is something like, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this, but you know, I'll explain it still nonetheless. If there's a reason why you are able to learn something, and why some things are easy to learn rather, and other things are not, it's because the things that are easy for us to learn, we have prior knowledge, prior experience, which we can overlap the thing that we've just been exposed to onto. We can imprint that new information upon an old lesson, an old memory, for lack of a more, you know, for just a simple term, right? And so when it comes to anything that you know, any knowledge you have, that knowledge is a spider web of, you know, a historical context that you have built upon to get to that level of understanding for whatever topic it is, right? So like, try and think of an example here. So when I got really big into physics when I was younger, anybody that knows anything about physics, you know, there are levels, right? There's general Newtonian physics, or, you know, which is basically just like the macro scale physics that we observe, right? Gravity, what goes up must come down. You know, light refracting off of an object is what I see. You know, what I'm seeing is light refraction, right? But then below that is quantum physics, right? The more fundamental universe is quantum. Now, here's the thing. In a universal sense, in a you know, from a physics aspect, quantum physics is more fundamental to the universe. But your brain, nobody's brain, can understand quantum physics without at least a rudimentary understanding of fundamental physics. Because if you don't have a concept of fundamental physics, then you fall victim to a lot of fallacies in quantum physics. You're not able to, first off, rationalize a lot of things in quantum physics, but you're not even able to really keep a strong memory of how certain things work. Yeah, Newtonian and quantum. So, but let's see, Electrobob, why do you call yourself a technocrat? Technocracy is authoritarianism based on the rule of technicians and bureaucratic oligarchs. I call myself a technocrat because I acknowledge that humanity is forever doomed to go down the path of authoritarianism. Whether that's a left-wing authoritarianism in the form of communism or a right-wing authoritarianism in the form of fascism. I see technocracy as the dead center authoritarianism. And there's no way around it because humans, just by social nature, because we are social creatures and social creatures operate within hierarchies, it doesn't matter if you're human, a chimpanzee, or a lion. You live in a social order, there is a social hierarchy. And that is a natural order of social creatures. And so it's, as much as I would love for everybody to just be independent, free-willed humans who respect one another just because God says you should, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of atheists out there, there's a lot of people with a God who's not your God, and they'll fucking kill you for it, or they'll steal you from you because they think that you're some kind of whatever. Okay? So it doesn't work. You cannot have a non-authoritarian system that still produces a functional economy, a functional society. Like, any example that anybody can give of a anarchist society, these are small groups, and they don't scale. It's like Bitcoin. It's just like Bitcoin, actually, right? Everybody in this chat, for the most part at least, you're in XRP. Why are we in XRP? Because we acknowledge the faulty points of Bitcoin, and that is that it is a anarchist, decentralized system. There is no ruling body over top of it. Why are we in XRP? Because XRP is a ruler system. It's a decentralized ruler system, but there's still a ruler system involved. We understand that power begets power, that power dictates where power goes. So it's like, as far as, so to reiterate then, why I identify as a technocrat is because as much as I would like for the world to not be an authoritarian system, we're going to have rulers. We're always going to have leaders. Throughout, even when everybody's got a replicator in their house and they're printing food and nobody works anywhere, there's no jobs, it's all robot done, we're going to have leaders. They might not be human leaders, but we'll have a leader. It might be an artificial intelligence that's telling us what to do, but we're going to listen to somebody that tells us how we should behave in our society. That's going to exist forever until there's no humans left to take an order from another human. It will forever exist, as unfortunate as that probably is, or that might sound to a lot of people. And so then you have to ask yourself, okay, so who is the most qualified to tell me how to live my life? Is it some politician who's taking a corporate handout? Why if I'm going to listen to somebody, I want to listen to somebody who at least has some kind of reasoning on their side, some kind of evidence-based conclusion, right? And when it comes to technocracy is listening to the engineers, as you say. So why do I want to listen to an engineer? Because an engineer understands what a robot's going to be able to do in 5 years. And understands that in 5 years, most jobs will not exist for humans. Just won't exist. So we as a society can pretend that's never happening, even though it's happening today. We can pretend it's never happening, and then nobody prepares for it, right? If we don't pretend and we turn a blind eye to it and pretend it's not happening, nobody's prepared. And then when the robots take our job, everybody's unemployed. Look what's happening right now from the virus. 40 million people are unemployed. Look at your country, America. You see the riots? Do you think those riots are just because one black man got killed? Really? You think that's why everybody's out there in arms? I know nobody out there is that foolish, especially in this channel. No, nobody's that foolish to believe that. There's a reason why people are getting in arms right now. There's a reason why people are escalating or taking the conflict to the degree that they are already. It's because they got nothing else to do. They got no job, and they see that deadline for their income, their unemployment coming to an end real quick. And so that scarcity mindset, it's coming into play. Now, you know what would happen under technocracy? So yeah, it'd be authoritarian. But you know what? The authoritarian technocrat understands that if you don't maintain if you don't maintain a system of civility, keep the masses enthralled, keep the masses appeased, then they riot and your whole system comes crashing down. And so the engineers a solution. That solution, a universal basic income. This is why up until literally 3 weeks ago, Elon Musk was promoting universal basic income. This is why, why am I spacing his name? CEO of Alphabet, Sergey. This is why Sergey Brin, this is why Sergey Brin was an advocate for universal basic income. This is why this is why most people in Silicon Valley have been saying universal basic income is our only solution. And now a lot of people in the chat I've already seen, I can't remember who was saying it, but a lot of people in the chat were saying that universal basic income isn't a solution. No, it is. It absolutely is. And a lot of you think that it's not because you think that, well, if we give money to everybody, how are we going to produce things? We're going to produce things for the same exact reason, in the same exact way, that you're not going to have a fucking job or a source of income if we don't give you a UBI. What is the money going to look like? Universal income. It looks like this. It's a reverse tax. It's what what's his name? Fucking world-renowned economist. Well, I can't think of his name. Super famous economist. Anyway, his name will come to me eventually, somewhere. But it's called a reverse income tax. And what that means is you are taxing corporations, taxing the automated services, taxing the robots that are growing your food, that are transporting you around in self-driving vehicles, that are driving the product with self-driving semis. You're taxing the Teslas, you're taxing the Amazons, and you're giving that tax to the people so that they can continue to participate in the economy. Now this is an issue to a lot of people because they think, well, what about the small business owner? The small business owner is not going to exist. No, it's not Jim Rickers. It's somebody, he passed away back in I think 2006 or so. He's so famous. He's like one of the most famous economists in modern history. UBI does not seem inevitable. You're not looking at the full picture, my buddy, if you don't think it's inevitable. Milton Friedman, thank you so much, Babby. Yes, that's exactly who I was thinking of. Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman is the first to propose a reverse income tax, a universal basic income, as it's being recalled now. Aren't the people in Silicon Valley in charge of the richest corporations of the world? Why would they want UBI? Are you thinking of Milton Friedman? Yes and yes. So why would they want UBI? Because universal basic income ensures that their company doesn't collapse. Universal basic income is a way of maintaining social stability by enabling that the poor can continue to eat, continue to have a roof over their head. Oh, you said it does? I'm sorry, buddy. I guess it does seem inevitable. I'm sorry, bro. I misread your statement there. But yeah, it is. It is an inevitability. The more people resist it, the more chances are there is of a complete and total social collapse. Is there riots in Malaysia? AJ's? No, not at all. It's peaceful as could be here. But so, why would they want, to your point, Lecture Bob, is because it provides stability. because they know that they make enough money that they can be taxed a certain percentage on the automation that they're doing. And here's another thing: if we provide a tax on automation, then those corporations are also being incentivized to automate further. And so then these big corporations, nice haircut FYI. I know everybody, I needed a haircut. I'll keep pointing it out to me. It'll come soon enough. As soon as I'm able to go out and get a haircut, it's gonna happen. Anyway, on my the day after my birthday, rather, the day after June 9th, I'm gonna be going to get a haircut. Count on it. Anyway, the reason why they want this is because, or the reason why this was incentivize automation is because it'll be cheaper to pay that tax than to pay a human being to work in their plant still. And so then they get to take that money that they're making extra, put that towards R&D, and the amount that they're paying in the tax is still enough to support the people, especially if it's on a global, or on a every single company that's automating every form of automation, right? So GM, Ford, Tesla, all of them are being taxed for the automation that goes into their production of vehicles. Think about this. How many jobs do you think were lost as a result of the assembly line at Ford, at GM, at these car companies? How many jobs do you think we lost? Peaceful, except the construction noise. Yeah, they've actually started doing a lot of work over there on that building the past few days. You can see the guys over there hard at work. A lot of the economic activities here in Malaysia have resumed for the most part, but there's still a local lockdown order. Machines run 24/7 and don't get paid. Exactly, Tim Bryan. And so essentially I guess that's the best way to look at this, right? Corporations, are they good or bad, or neither, in my opinion? I would have to say that corporations are neither. Because it's kind of a hard thing to address, right? Because it's like a lion, right? Is a lion good or bad? I mean, a lion will kill you if it sees you and you don't have a gun to shoot it, it'll eat you. Especially if it's hungry. That lion's gonna eat you for dinner. Does that make the lion evil? Is the lion good or bad? You know, it's kind of like that. You know, I spent time to invest in robotics for a long time. But I guess this will be the last thing I answer because my battery's just about to die here. But for me, corporations are a necessary evil, I guess, is probably the best way to look at it. They bring about a large degree of advancement, and the quality of life improvement that we get from corporations because of cheaper products that we can incorporate into our daily lives. You know, I wouldn't be able to be talking to all of you right now on the other side of the world if it weren't for a corporation. I wouldn't be able to enjoy my way of life right now, have such a convenient way of life right now if it weren't for corporations. So while in a lot of ways, on the individual level, corporations are bad, right? Like on the individual income levels, they're bad because they're for-profit industries. Almost all corporations are for-profit. They don't give a flying fuck about anybody that's in the company. They only care about the bottom line for the company as a whole. They're bad in that regard. But for the society at large, I think that they're a net gain. And I think that is, so it's like, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not neither, it's both good and bad, right? So it's kind of like the opposite of, it's like the fourth, it's answer D to what you gave. So, so what happens to the poor? Will they lose their jobs and just become dependent on those companies, or what would happen? Stony Squish, if universal basic income is implemented, that's exactly what happened. Instead of the poor having to file for unemployment, they'd be relying upon their UBI. The thing about UBI though is it's not it's not about whether you have a job or not. You're getting UBI because you're human. And so what about Rygar says, what about capitalism? That's where they rise from. So the idea is this. I don't know if you're familiar with Andrew Yang, but Andrew Yang coined this in the best possible way that I've ever heard anybody coin it, so I'm going to steal his saying. Universal basic income, it's not socialism. It's not. Actually, it doesn't even exist in Karl Marx's book. It's not a thing. Milton Friedman, again, is one of the first people to promote it. And actually, universal basic income, a reverse income tax, was invented by not Andrew Jackson. Actually, it might have been. It was one of the founding fathers. I think it might have been Andrew Jackson. I think it was an Andrew. I think it was Andrew Jackson though. But Andrew Jackson invented it. You know, or he was at least one of the first large proponents of a universal basic income. Anybody gonna call Americans' founding fathers socialists? I mean, go ahead, but you know, I'm pretty sure Andrew Jackson was a corporate or a capitalist. But the idea is that it's a UBI, a reverse income tax, is not. It's not. Well, they don't even have money in Star Trek, Argar. UBI would have been a thing early on in the Star Trek universe, but then once they hit a certain point, they're like, well, you know, there's no reason for it because we have replicators. We live in an age of abundance, and there are no jobs for humans other than exploring the universe. So there's you know, people just go and do what they want in that society. There's no reason for it anymore. You know, I think if Star Trek operates on anything, it's probably a social credit score if they have any currency. Was it Thomas Jefferson? Maybe it was Thomas Jefferson. But anyway, the idea is that it's not socialism. It's capitalism doesn't start at zero. That's Andrew Yang's quote. Universal basic income is capitalism that doesn't start at zero. It's capitalism where there is a safety net to ensure that social unrest does not occur because of people losing their jobs. And that's what it boils down to. Somebody just donated 2, and hopefully I can get that before AJ's. You the man. Thank you, brother. You the man. Thanks for the 2 bones. So I'm going to cut it short, guys. I know that there's a lot of questions coming in. A lot of people keep asking questions. I will try and do another live stream here in a few days. But yes, it's all steps in progression. We have to advance the society or be doomed to repeat the mistakes of those who came before us. Unfortunately for America, it looks like, to me, that you guys don't have to worry about universal basic income because the collapse is coming sooner than UBI. As unfortunate as that is for me to stomach, it is what it is. America is too proud of its exceptionalism. American exceptionalism is too deeply rooted in the American psyche, and so Americans will never accept a universal basic income. They'd rather go and die in a ditch. So, you know, that's their choice. That's why I'm here. But I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Again, I made an absurd claim, so hopefully July proves me wrong and America's still in one piece. And there's no even semblance of America collapsing by July, and I can finally come out and say, okay guys, I went too far. Thankfully I finally went too far. America's holding up good. Thank you, Dylan Reeves. I hope you guys all have a good day. Thank you once again for tuning in. I'll see all of you guys in the next one. As always, right here on Mars. Peace out till then, guys.